YAM Time is brought to you by Sany Media.
Welcome to YAM Time, episode 6. I'm your host, Sany, here with Hoop and the infamous ZZ Hunt Show. We got a new series here going for you guys. We're taking an OG episode, a way of doing episodes, but we're putting a series name to it. Welcome to the first ever Yap battle between my two good friends, Hoop and Z. Now, if you ever see a Yap battle, you'll know that the person starting the episode is the moderator, who is me. I'm the moderator. We're going with an intense, heated debate episode here. We've done this before. If you remember the James Harden, me versus Z, Klay Thompson, me versus Z. What was the one with Hoop again?
No, Hoop was.
I did James Harden.
Oh, he did James Harden. Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah.
No. You know why? Because I remember I jumped in with Z or jumped in with Hoop, and we went at Z halfway through the episode because I agreed with Hoop.
We had a tag team.
it was on some WWE things, but anyway, these episodes are always fun, and we have a topic that, if you know Hoop, you know he's very passionate about this, and you could probably tell by the thumbnail or the title, whatever we decide to make it. Is Jayson Tatum an NBA superstar? Would you consider Jayson Tatum a superstar? Now, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to say the rules, and they're not even going to be applied because we all know what happened last time. Everybody just started yelling over each other. So I'm just going to ask this from you guys, okay? Mm-hmm. When I say, hey, and I start yelling in the mic, okay, we have to calm things down, okay? Because there's too much overlapping. I will let you guys argue. I'm going to let you guys go at it. I hope that you guys respect each other at least for the first 5 minutes to bring out your guys' points. And when you want to start jumping in and arguing, by all means, it's good content. But I have the power to mute you from my end. So if I mute you from my end, it is because there's too much yapping, okay? And by the end of this, I'm going to vote on who was the better yapper. And I'm going to base my opinion on if I think Jayson Tatum is a superstar, and I'll have a poll on the Spotify, and we'll see who won next episode. And we'll check the comments as well. I'll count those. But we're going to get started. I'm going to say Hoop is going to start because he's the one who's so passionate about this.
No, I think that's ridiculous because there is a claim being made here that Jayson Tatum is a superstar. So the one making that claim should start the show.
Z.
Okay, so Hoop's duck and smoke.
Already.
It's cool.
That's
I was just.
That's an excuse and a half.
But
hey, it's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna. Do we have like a time limit for first
No.
round? Or?
Yap away.
All right, bet. It's yap time, ladies and gentlemen.
that just sounds
Yap
corny.
time.
It reminds me of like the TikTok memes about having like a TikTok Riz party.
Oh my, what is that? What even is that?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying it's just the lingo is too much right now.
That sounds like something Diddy would do. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. All right, look, let's get into it. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you remember the last time that we did a debate style show, it was indeed about James Harden and if he was a playoff choker or not. For some reason, Hoopology took the stance that he was not a playoff choker, and it was something that was media driven or something like that. And then that very playoffs, James Harden once again had 9 points in a pivotal Game 7 and went home. So it is what it is. Now we're talking about Jayson, whatever his middle name is, Tatum. Some of you might know him as Deuce's son. I mean, dad, but whatever. Is Jayson Tatum a superstar? So when Hoop has talked about this in the past, he's listed some things that he thinks are relatively grievances against Jayson Tatum, or at least Jayson Tatum supporters, when they put him in certain regards, right? So when I think of, is Jayson Tatum a superstar? A guy that is top 5 in MVP voting this year, a guy that is the last 2 years all NBA first team. This year will be 3 years in a row. Tell me if I'm lying. I'm not. All right, another thing about Jayson Tatum. We're talking about Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics, the best team in the league, best player on the best team in the league. How the hell is this guy not a superstar? And then I think, well, Hoop probably has like 5 guys that he might consider superstars, which I get it, right? If this was 2015, I'd understand that point. However, the league itself is a lot more talented than it was even 10 years ago. We can go 15, 30, back, we done with the 90s, all that. The league is more talented. So unfortunately, what that means to me at least is that there's room for guys to enter that superstar talk, especially when we're factoring in that the league itself is going through a shift in our main guys that we grew up on being the faces of the league, like LeBron and Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Russ at a point in time, Harden, guys that we used to look at as bona fide superstars. Now, some of them still have that moniker and some don't. But we're also transitioning into who is going to be the next face of the league. Jayson Tatum is in that discussion. Mind you, I'm going to get to my other points in a second, but I am going to let Hoop go. Mind you, I am a Golden State Warrior fan, right? 2 seasons ago, going into the finals, the Boston Celtics, let us never forget, favored 93% to win the finals, right? I knew that was cap. I knew they were cooked. And
Weren't you a Golden State fan after that final series, or am I tripping?
No. I was there before.
Did he not make the free agency announcement after the finals, or am I tripping?
Ladies and gentlemen, take what Saney's saying with a grain of salt, all right? Because it may or may not be true. Who knows? But what we do know is going into the series, I said, screw those statistics. The Warriors are winning this, and they did. Jayson Tatum had a stinker performance. I've talked about it. I've literally talked about it before. So this is coming from a biased Warrior fan perspective of, is Jayson Tatum a superstar? Hoop, go ahead.
So before I start, I figured I'd give you the benefit of the doubt of asking you a question, and that's, how do you want to get cooked? You can be fried, you can be sautéed, you can be steamed, grilled, medium well.
I know you don't order your steaks medium well.
I don't.
Medium rare.
All right, good. We're all in here. All right.
But to be completely honest, like, you're a good friend of mine. I just thought that was a very poor way to open a debate.
Oh, just wait.
You truly brought the yap to the yap battle. So to start my point, I first want to clarify what I think a superstar is. I don't think you clarify what a superstar is. I'm just going to talk, and then you can, talk afterwards. By my definition, an NBA superstar is a player who is proven to be a top 5 caliber player in the NBA year in, year out when healthy. So someone who is capable of being top 5 in a season when they're healthy every year is a superstar to me. This does not limit superstardom to 5 players. It's simply someone who can play at a top 5 level when they're healthy. So ultimately, while this does not limit superstardom to just 5 players, there is naturally a cap, because you can't have 15, 20 guys who can all be a top 5 player. It's usually, if Kevin Durant were to go off for a couple of months, he could play like a top 5 player. So it might extend past 5 to more like 7 or 8, and I'll tell you who my superstars are. But in terms of how I rank players, because now that I'm saying it's more of a top 5 type of basis, the cream of the crop, I should tell you how I rank players, and that's not based off just pure talent or pure production. It's based off how they impact winning in basketball. I think a player is better than another player when he impacts winning more than the other player. And like you said about the whole league changing and the league becoming more talented, and this isn't 2015 anymore. The reason why I don't like that logic in adding superstars to the league is because there's always been one championship. And regardless of how good or how trash the league is, based off the talent in that pool, there will be the cream of the crop. So even if the league sucked, there would still be a similar amount of superstars to me, the best of that group that impacts winning the most to win that championship. Since there's still 30 teams, there's still one championship, I'm going to keep a relative amount, the same amount of superstars. Also, with the talent level increasing, I don't want to look at guys like Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker, who are, maybe outside of the top 10 of players in this year's NBA, looking back to 2007 or 2015 even, the talent level is just nowhere near. So I'm not going to revoke superstardom from years past and players in the past and the whole we done with the 90s. I'm not going to revoke their superstardom because of the talent level now. I think it's just all relative to the era they're playing in today. So today's era, with the amount of talent there is, I still think the cream of the crop who have the best chance of winning a title and the best players to help their team win a title, still going to be a similar amount, which is why superstars to me, it's the same exact thing I explained last year. It's players who can be top 5 year in, year out. Now, as far as what we talked about last year, since you brought up James Harden for some reason, to like lower my credibility, I peeped
You
that.
know why? You know why?
But this is something that is relevant, how we talked about it last year. So I went back. This was episode 26 that we talked about it back in November of 2022.
Receipts.
Yes. So I want to talk about how my superstar list has changed. Last year, I said the players who I think are superstars were Nikola Jokic, the no order, by the way, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid, Steph Curry, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. So 8 players. The only thing that has changed this year because of the 2023 playoffs is Jimmy Butler. My list is pretty consistent. It could definitely change after this offseason, but based off of what I've seen, players who could play at a top 5 level are those 8 or 9 or whatever it is. One player has been added since last year. Now, there's players who are knocking on that door that can enter that conversation. Specifically, Shea, I think, will definitely enter that conversation after this playoff run. Tatum, I thought could enter it, but he did not move me after these 2023 playoffs. I mentioned in that episode, I went back and watched it, that I thought him and Kawhi can potentially, not that they need to switch spots, but if Kawhi is no longer playing like a top 5 player, he's out of the conversation. Jayson Tatum can enter that conversation. But Kawhi Leonard, even though he got hurt, those 2 games he played, I thought he looked more dangerous than Jayson Tatum in those playoffs, even in just those 2 games. And I'll stand on that. Now, looking back at your list of superstars last year, this is as of last November, you said you had a guaranteed 9 and then a 10th who was creeping in. Now, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt because it's a new year. There are things happening last year. Things are different. But this is what you said. Guaranteed 9, Steph, Giannis, Jokic, LeBron, KD, Luka. Totally cool. Then you said Kyrie, Dame, and Kawhi. And the 10th who was creeping in was James Harden. Now, I don't exactly know what your criteria was because you kind of jumped around with this guy's must-watch TV. This guy impacts winning. And I thought it was inconsistent. So I'd love you to explain your criteria for this year or last year's criteria if it's still the same. And sorry, Saini, to throw a stray at you.
Oh my God.
But you said that Donovan Mitchell was a superstar last year.
At the time he was. Look at what he was doing with the Cavaliers last year. Come on, bro.
At the time he was.
Come on. And also he was what, a 1 seed with the Jazz for like 4 straight seasons?
Oh, come on.
Top
Come on.
Top seed in the
60,
conference. Hey, look.
Did he not have multiple 61 seasons as the number 1 guy in Utah? And he averaged 20 points per game, and he's the first rookie since Carmelo Anthony to take his team to the playoffs as the lead scorer. Donovan Mitchell was not a bad shout at the time because he was turning up at the time, and he was showing that he can excel in different situations as well, which is why I said it, because he played great in Utah, moves to a different system. And
I thought you were the moderator. I thought you were the moderator.
I didn't know we was throwing shade. We were throwing rocks at the Empire right now. Okay.
All I'm saying is I think my list has stood the test of time.
Interesting.
It's with Jokic, Giannis, Luka, Embiid, Curry, Leonard, Jimmy Butler, LeBron, KD. Jimmy Butler was just added this year because he could no longer be ignored. But Jayson Tatum has not moved me in terms of that conversation of him being a top 5 player year in, year out. Obviously, there's years where people are injured, and at the forward position, if he was a big, he's not getting it over Jokic and Embiid as far as all NBA first teams. But in the forward position, he's gotten it. There's Kawhi Leonard injury issues, LeBron James. There's just not Kevin Durant has had injury issues. I'm not going to take just the hardware into account. It's just what I've seen from him since he was 19. It's been the same exact dude. I'll get into more of my issues with him that are pretty much known at this point, but I figured I'd let Z talk.
All right, so I'm glad that you brought up my list for reference because now I can actually talk about it. Let's talk about ZZ Huncho's criteria for superstar. First thing that popped into my head last year when we brought this up was when I think of superstar, I think of the first thing is marketability. First thing. when you talk about a guy like Kyrie Irving, who is box office as hell, mind you, 2 episodes ago, we were talking about how great that game winner was, right? How many players in the league do you know that are that size that can hit that shot other than Kyrie Irving? But he ain't a superstar? That's wild. Now, let's move forward. Don't do it. Nah, I got him right here. You talk about Joel Embiid, and you're talking about contributing to winning. I get that. Are we just talking about the regular season? Because I guarantee you this, if Joel Embiid didn't have that MVP, he wouldn't be a superstar in your mind. I guarantee you that. I can also guarantee you this. Jayson Tatum has given me, with my eyes, more phenomenal and great postseason performances than Joel Embiid has. Matter of fact, mind you, Joel Embiid just turned 30 this year. Might have been this month. Ain't sniffed a conference finals. But you know who has 3 times? Jayson Tatum. Ain't even sniffed the finals. You want to know who has once? Jayson Tatum. Did he sneak up the bed? Yes, but that's not the point. All right. Joel Embiid is a guy to me that if you're going to give him a superstar nod, you have to give it to Jayson Tatum. Because at the end of the day, for as great as Joel Embiid is as a regular season performer, he is, don't get me wrong, right? In the postseason, he don't even sniff Jayson Tatum. And that's just what it is. You want to talk about game 6 against Joel Embiid, where Jayson Tatum literally goes 3 quarters, 1 for 11 from the field or something like that. Joel Embiid and his squad are up. They got the series wrapped, right? And then Jayson Tatum drops 16 points in games in the fourth quarter of that game and completely changes what you thought you already knew about him from the first 3 quarters. And then follows that up in game 7 with the most points scored in a game 7 in the history of our great league. So, to me, when I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, this guy on the other team, this big-ass Thundercat, that's the league MVP, ain't it? Is that my MVP? Or is it Jayson Tatum, the guy that just cooked his entire squad, right? So when you're factoring in superstars, you have to think about a lot of things, such as playoff moments. I get Jayson Tatum has had some slip-ups. Don't get me wrong. He's 26. You want to know who else didn't win a championship when they were 26? LeBron, Michael Jordan, right? These are guys that, but would you have labeled a LeBron James in 2010 a superstar? Yes, you would have. Why would you have done that? Probably because of the MVPs, right? Sure, for sure. If I'm looking at Jayson Tatum, this guy 2 seasons ago last season averaged 30 a game. This season, 27. Walked into the league, right? In his first year. Now, there's no way Hoop just went away.
He'll join back. Just continue.
Okay, great, because I was cooking, and I'm going to keep going. All right, so when you look at Jayson Tatum, right, and you think about postseason performances and the fact that he's 26 and what he's done in his career so far. I read y'all the list, right? It was great. He has a pretty solid resume. Only thing that's missing from it is an MVP and a championship, which this season he will be top 5 in league MVP voting, rightfully so. And if that doesn't scream superstar, I don't know. First team all NBA selections. You said if Jayson Tatum was a forward, then he wouldn't get it over Jokic and Joel. You're right. But you want to know what else is true? If was a 5th, James Harden would pour it all over a stripper. We don't count that around here, all right? Nah, he's top 5 in MVP voting for a reason, all right? That's just what it is. Jaylen Brown may have got that bag, but best believe Jayson Tatum's bag going to be bigger than Jaylen Brown's was. And Jaylen Brown's was historic, okay? And he's the 2nd best player on the team, right? So when I think about all of that, I understand the criteria for superstar is subjective. It's a subjective thing. But when you start looking at all these other guys and you start checking resumes and you start checking boxes, there's boxes that Jayson Tatum has checked that some of those other guys, the younger ones, haven't checked yet. Luka Doncic, for example. But you can contextualize that, right? He's in the Western Conference. You know, his team just got good this year or whatever. But at the end of the day, his one Western Conference Finals appearance, which if Jokic had Jamal Murray and MPJ, he probably wouldn't have even got there, so he wouldn't have one. But, you know, if it was a 5th, we get it. Jayson Tatum, on the other hand, when he walked into the league, he got drafted to a Celtics team that struck gold in even getting the pick to begin with. Thank you, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and that trade package, but whatever. He goes on a team where he's joined by Kyrie Irving and then Gordon Hayward, right? And with Kyrie Irving going out for injury, this Jayson Tatum, in his first playoff appearance, went toe-to-toe with LaThanos James, posterized him and everything. 18.5 a game as a rookie for your postseason, for a run for the postseason for your team, with your best player in Kyrie Irving being out. You ask your youngest and newest player to step up to the table, and he produces pretty solid for his debut playoff run, right? And then we factor in, of course, he's had other great moments in the playoffs. I think game 5 or game 6 against Atlanta in last year as well. He's had some great moments. All right, he's had some bad moments, but the only thing that I think that's going to change Hoopology's mind on if Jayson Tatum is a superstar. At this point, you say it wasn't about the hardware, but I guarantee you, if Joel doesn't have that MVP, he's not a superstar to you, because you can't point me to anything that Joel Embiid has done in the postseason to even scream superstar. Regular season, I got you. Cool. Boom. Right? But for a guy to compare him to Jayson Tatum, and Tatum has had that many more better performances than you have in the postseason, I can't see it. So there you go.
So what I heard you say and like kind of explain is that Jayson Tatum is a great basketball player, which he is.
Mhm.
But in terms of comparing him to these other players, you compared him to Embiid, which is cool. But Embiid, even without the MVP last year, has had. Sorry, let me check. 3 straight years. 2021, he was second in voting. 2022, he was second MVP voting. Last year, he won it. This year, he would probably win it again. 4 straight years of MVP level play. Jayson Tatum's not sniffing that. In the playoffs, Joel Embiid has battled injuries. I'm not going to rattle him off because I don't know him. I just know he's been banged up almost every year. And as a supporter of Kawhi Leonard, I really don't care about health because I know it's just a toss-up and there's not much he can do to prevent getting poked in the eye and all this crap that's broken his hand, all this crap that's happened to him. I think just watching him play basketball, he's a better basketball player than Jayson Tatum. There's no, you talk about Luka in the Western Conference Finals and how Jayson Tatum has more playoff experience and all that. You cannot tell me that Luka Doncic is not a better basketball player than Jayson Tatum. Just watching them play basketball, there is no possible way. And I think there's a lot of guys like him, Jokic, Embiid, Giannis. There's off rip. Just watching them play the game of basketball, it's not a question whether Jayson Tatum is in the same conversation as those players. And then when it gets down to it, I didn't really want to pull up stats, but there's one stat that came out on ESPN. I'm hoping I don't get kicked out again because last time I went on another page, it kicked me out. But this is ESPN as of March 7th. I don't know if they've updated since then how many more clutch points he's had, but it says this season, as of March 7th, he has shot 15 for 46, 32% in the clutch time this season, including 0 for 2 on Tuesday. It's irrelevant. Among the 27 players who have taken at least 45 clutch time shots this season, Tatum ranks last in field goal percentage. Just clutch stat. And then it says, and Tatum's clutch time woes are not isolated to the season. His clutch field goal percentage over the last 3 seasons ranks in bottom 10 among more than 70 players with at least 100 attempts. I didn't need to look that up to just know it in my mind that I don't fear Jayson Tatum in the clutch. I never have. And just watching him play basketball compared to these other guys, I know when it's Kawhi time. I know when it's LeBron time. I know when it's Kevin Durant time. Jayson Tatum can stand in the corner a couple possessions, give Jaylen Brown a touch. I'm sorry, LeBron, Kevin Durant, they're not giving Jaylen Brown a touch in the clutch, bro. And I don't want to get into this whole killer thing, but it's back with the stats. It's back with just watching him play the game of basketball. I love these great performances that he's had. I brought up on the last pod that we had with the superstars that I saw the game after, because I went to game 5 against Milwaukee in 2022. The next game, he goes into Milwaukee down 3-2, goes on like an 8-0 personal run that wins them the game. They end up winning game 7. That was a superstar moment, but he has not had more of those moments consistently to the point where I could say Jayson Tatum is now on a level where he can go out against a Nikola Jokic, against a healthy Joel Embiid, and I'm like, okay, he can match up head to head. I think Jayson Tatum is more in the tier of like in terms of player as an Anthony Davis. The guys that I have right under the superstar category, I have Shea, who will probably be a superstar on my list very soon. Then I have Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Jalen Brunson, Victor Wembanyama. I don't see a huge you cannot tell me that Jalen Brunson is a tier under Jayson Tatum. Like just watching the two of them play back, I know when it's Jalen Brunson time. Man's averaging 28 a game. I know in the closing, Staney knows in the closing minutes of the game, Jalen Brunson is getting the basketball and he is scoring the basketball. I can't say that about Jayson Tatum. I can't say that.
How though?
Watching Jalen Brunson.
You have fear watching Jalen Brunson, bro.
Look, I'm not even going to debate that point because I'm not going to sit here and act like Jalen Brunson ain't a dog too. But I feel you on that. As far as the moments go, look, I don't know about you, but I've seen from the Celtics in the postseason before where it's
Can you explain your criteria? Because you told me box office is a part of it.
Box office is a part of it, right? If you are amongst if you are within like the top 8. I wouldn't even say just top 10, because that 9 and 10 spot can be for players that I feel like are creeping into a superstar level. But if you are top 8 or above, I'm going to give you that nod. When you think about the top 10 players in the league the last 3 years, Tatum has consistently been in the majority of people's at least top 7 range. For some, I've seen.
So where does Kyrie Irving fall?
Kyrie Irving, that's a different one, because with Kyrie, it's more of the marketability aspect.
Nah, but you gotta explain
Kyrie
this stuff.
Irving
I gave you a
still,
set definition of what my
You did.
superstardom is, and you can tear that apart all you want. We at least know what we're debating. I want to know
Okay.
what I'm debating with you.
So for me, when I think of box office, when I think of production that matches it, when I think of more than just an X factor for your team, right? So a Kyrie Irving as a second option is way more deadly with the combination of Luka than Jaylen Brown is with Jayson Tatum, right? For sure, we can agree on that, right? So that right there, the reason why he's a superstar to me is because not only is he box office, not only is he dangerous with the ball, but you just alluded to moments and stuff like that. I know when it's Kyrie time. I don't know about y'all, but Kyrie's proven that a billion times over. Literally, the most famous shot he has is in Game 7 in a game where in the last 2 minutes you couldn't even have a back and forth game. It was just back and forth misses. Somebody had to hit a shot. Kyrie Irving does, right? Great defense and all that. He's a dog. Okay, so Kyrie is in that tier for me. James Harden is another guy that last year I said, yeah, he's creeping in. Right now, I think he's still at a star level, but he used to be at a superstar level. He just has kind of fallen down a little bit in terms of the offensive production on the scoring side. Nonetheless, he can still go off for a couple games, 30 points here or there, but his playmaking is something that keeps him kind of hovering right there, because you can make an argument that James Harden is the top 3 playmaker in the league still, despite the scoring. But playmaking, Harden's up there with amongst the greatest that I've ever seen.
So if
right?
Harden is like hovering at a star level, I guess close to
Mhm.
being a superstar, you're saying that superstardom is top 8 in the league. Where
I'd
are
say
we
so.
ranking these guys in the league?
So when we think about, I think about just 8 players off the top of my head that I say bona fide superstars, right? Still, some players are still in this discussion, but I think it can be a little bit more open than 8 depending on it, because a lot of guys you can say are like legacy superstars, like it's like James Harden would probably be one of those guys. Russell Westbrook is,
I just can't get with this, to be honest.
Russ is like a
too
star
much of
with
an
me.
abstract concept.
But that's the thing.
I want to just take a break here because we have some breaking news here. Speaking of, superstars, Joel Embiid just signed a multi-year deal with Skechers.
I don't know why I was expecting that to be the 76ers just locked him in for 5 more years.
But I just wanted to throw that out there.
That might have just ruined
taken him. Yeah,
at a Julius Randle signature basketball sneaker.
No, I think this takes out Joel Embiid of the superstar discussion
because he signed with Skechers.
He's playing in memory foams. He's not going to be staying healthy too long. I'll promise you that.
Bro, one second.
Oh my God, what is he doing? Do you have Skechers?
Oh my God. Stop it.
No,
are they fire?
Bro.
They're comfy, bro.
Are they?
They're comfy, bro.
Bro, they got a code on Skechers. You could get them for 25% off. Only hoop shoes where you could actually find a valid 25% off code. I got them for like 90. They're, bro.
Are they fire?
I love them. Hold
Bro,
up. I got one more.
Okay.
Oh, he got 2 pairs.
That's crazy.
He's done.
He's literally
this is the break, and then we need to go back to the yapping. Oh, he got the ones Joel Embiid are rocking at the OKC game right now. Are those nice
tough,
too,
bro? I never wore these. They still got the things in them.
That's funny.
No, those are tough.
Funny. All right, let's continue this yapping.
These are the ones that Randall murdered Mike Muscala in.
Embiid's rocking those right now.
Let's go. All right, let's get back into this. Okay. So where was I? Okay, another thing too that came into my head while we were talking just a second ago. Jayson Tatum, when he went on the interview with, I think her name is Taylor Rooks, and he was talking and he was like, hey, because he said, how many superstars do you think there are in the league? He asked her that question because he understands as a player that is something that is starting to become more and more subjective, right? So he said, give me, how many superstars do you think there are in today's game? She originally said 6. I said, he about to cook her, because you gonna sit here and tell me, because who are you leaving out when you start naming that top 6 and tell me? Because look, you can say, Jokic, Giannis, Steph, LeBron, Kawhi if you want to. That's a safe bet. I get that, right? Kevin Durant, didn't even name him yet, right? Luka, didn't even name him yet, right? You see how you can keep going here? Because when I said earlier about how much talent there is in today's game, superstar and that term is a lot more looser than it was 10 years ago. That's just how I look at it. All right. So there's more leeway for a guy like a Jayson Tatum with the things that he's done in his career, with the progression that he's shown. Mind you, once again, he's only 26. So to me, I feel like when you look at his game, you sit and you say, you can look at the advanced numbers. He's an above average offensive player. He's an above average defender. He is literally one of the best two-way players in the game, not just because of his age and the fact that he's literally entering his prime, but he literally backs up everything. You need a pull-up three, you need a step-back three, you need a mid-range, a fadeaway, a drive to the rim, something that he's worked on in the last 2 years that they used to crucify him for, but he's worked at it and become a lot better. During the beginning portions of last season, he had a better percentage at the rim than Giannis Antetokounmpo through the first 25 games of the year, if I'm not mistaken. But it was some crazy stuff because I remember them talking about it, and I'm like, okay, this is what they wanted him to improve upon, right? So you have a guy that's a great ball handler that can get any shot that he wants, can drive to the rim and play defense, and he's on a team in the Boston Celtics that, look, when you get drafted there, you're expected to be great. You're expected to be a part of greatness, right? I get it. They haven't had a championship in 16 years, and Paul Pierce and Doc Rivers and Kevin Garnett still are milking the hell out of that. But look, when Jayson Tatum got drafted, it's like, okay, you're on the Boston Celtics. This is the second or first best franchise in our league, right? Like I said before, you walk into a situation where you can say, yeah, look at the teammates that he's had. Is that his fault that he went number 3 and Danny Ainge saw him and swept them all up and said, look, you're going to be the guy that we build around alongside Jaylen Brown, but you're still the top guy? I'm sorry. Like, it is what it is. When I look at the team itself, this is a team that is 1 win away from 60 wins. And I can definitively say that Jayson Tatum is the best player on this team. Now, granted, this is the best team that he's ever had. So I also will say this. I feel like this will be the year to potentially move Hoop into, okay, he might be a superstar. This would be the year to do that going into this postseason because this is the best team that he's had.
And that's what we said last year, bro.
Okay, but is this team this year?
It is better, but but when someone shows you who they are, you got to believe them. We know that firsthand.
Because let me tell you this. The fact that he is still 26 years old, and the fact that
why are we talking about hypotheticals?
Hold on. Let me cook because
if he's older.
Let me cook because you just said that if someone shows you who they are, it is what it is, right? Joel,
not as a
is 30 years old and still has not been to a conference finals.
And he's shown us that he's a top 3 MVP. I'm not talking about the exact talent level. I'm talking about Tatum not getting rid of these tendencies that are holding him back, demanding the ball in crunch time.
So in the next 4 years, because like I just said, the things that they crucified him for a few years ago, like finishing at the rim, getting stronger, and all of these things, he worked on. And
bro, I feel like we're not having the right argument.
Okay,
I feel like what we're trying, like the argument we're having right now is Jayson Tatum a great basketball player? I agree to that. The whole but you're saying he's getting drafted to the Celtics. And he had expectations, and he's been and had playoff experience, had cool moments. Like you could say this about almost like a lot of dudes in the league. If we're talking about this debate, is Jayson Tatum a superstar? Mm-hmm. You either have to attack my logic, that my logic is bad and it's flawed, and you need to have Jayson Tatum as a potential top 5 player, and these other players are not, or I need to be attacking your logic. We can't just play in this middle ground, or else we're both just going to have separate opinions at the end of the day. I think your logic is flawed in the fact that you could say Kyrie Irving's a superstar, James Harden's a fringe superstar based off legacy talk, and we have all these guys like, and some of these are not going to apply, but I'm just going off the scoring leaders right here. You got Luka, Giannis, Shea, Brunson, Durant, Booker, Tatum, Curry, Fox, Edwards, Jokic, Maxey, LeBron, Davis, Lillard, Kawhi, Jaylen Brown, Zion Williams, all these guys that I could say are a better basketball player than James Harden, yet James Harden's going to get a superstar nod. Not that all of them are better, but there's the league has so much talent that I just can't have these like add-ons to superstardom, or else I just don't know what the heck your criteria is.
I see what you're saying, but I think that where we're disconnecting is the fact that you probably have less superstars on your list than I have on mine. And 12 to 15. Jayson Tatum said it in the interview himself because she asked him, how many superstars do you think are in the league? He said 12.
I'm not going to use his
looking at his logic, I'm not saying use his logic. I'm saying looking at his logic and based upon the things that I've already reiterated before, the talent pool in the league is an all-time high.
But why are you saying that if we're going to say the talent pool is at an all-time high, let's look back at a time where the talent pool was not at an all-time high. Let's look at like the 70s or something where they just sucked at basketball, because the 70s was not a great era of basketball.
Yeah.
Based off their basketball talent, are we going to revoke superstardom from the players who were getting all NBA first teams back then? And it's just based off how great of a hooper you are. Because today, I agree, based off talent, there'd be a ton of superstars. Tons. Because Donovan Mitchell is frying anyone back then. But if we're going to say that there's 15 now, that means because this is a great era of basketball, we need to look at a not so great era of basketball and completely obliterate, like the Dave Cowens, not a super. Why would he be a superstar if we're giving these guys nods today? Like the older guys of past generations. If we're going to be consistent, we could say, yes, he was a superstar of his generation.
He was.
In today's generation, Nikola Jokic makes Tyrese Maxey look like, another good, like a Kyle Lowry of the 20, you know what I mean? Like, even though Tyrese Maxey's a really, averaging almost 27, 28, compared to the best players in the league, I can't give him that, you know what I mean?
Well, I think Maxey ain't averaging no 28, no 27.
I thought he was before.
Nah, he's been playing like shit since.
Is he at like 25 now?
He's at like 25.
He's over 20. I'm not here. He's at 20. He's over 20. But
you get what I mean.
I get what you're saying.
Because he's not a top tier, but compared to other years,
right? But if you look at Tyrese Maxey, and if say you were to swap the two of them out, him and Tatum, right? And Tatum is in the position of trying to keep the Philadelphia 76ers afloat in Joel Embiid's absence, which was almost a possibility back then, mind you. But like I said,
Tatum's better than Maxey. We don't got to get into this.
Right. We know this. So when you talk about the guys that, and here's the thing, Hoop, I'm not even mad at you for the players that you have in the tier of a Jayson Tatum, because I understand your point. I do. With Luka Doncic, though, is one of those players where I feel like, because, I can sit here and say I think Luka's a better basketball player than Jayson Tatum, but I don't think that he's a better basketball player by a mile than Jayson Tatum.
That's where we disagree.
That's where it is. Because I think that with Jayson Tatum, you start undervaluing the two-way play of a player like a Jayson Tatum. So you look at Luka Doncic, for as great as he is as an offensive guy, I get that. I totally do. I support Luka like all the time, except tonight. But you get the picture. But it's like with Jayson Tatum, I'm not going to discredit the fact that his defense is really good for someone, not only his size, his age, and all of that, but in comparison to his contemporary, which would be a lot of times people compare Tatum to Luka Doncic. And it's, Luka can pass the hell out of the ball. Yeah, he can rebound. So can Tatum. Yeah, he can score. So can Tatum. There's been games where Luka has had 37-point triple-doubles and lost. Why? Because his teammates weren't, whatever. As a matter of fact, last year, Saney literally came on here and was talking about, I think we might have clipped it, but he was like, look, when we're talking about clutch players, right? And Saney was either defending De'Aaron Fox or SGA or both. But he said, when we're talking about clutch players and people that are saying that it's Luka, look at Luka's decision-making in the clutch last year. And tell me, was he spot on, top 3 clutch player in the league, or was he literally costing his team chances to win games by taking selfish shots? Look, Luka Doncic isn't perfect. In the clutch, I know for a fact I've seen Luka put up some of the craziest things that I've ever seen, one-handed floaters from the corner, whatever. But I've also seen him have some boneheaded decisions in the clutch that I'm like, you just cost the team the game. So I get it. But once again, like I said, if you want to say Luka's better than Tatum, I feel you. I do. But it isn't by a mile as if to say that Luka Doncic just understands the game of basketball better or doesn't make as many mistakes in the clutch as Jayson Tatum does.
It's not that I don't value Tatum's defense. I just think looking at their head-to-head player, like there's not going to be many days out of the week, if any, if I take Tatum over Luka. It's just not something where it's up for debate for me. Right. Even if it's just by a little bit, it's by enough to the point where it's noticeable.
Right.
Okay.
There's not a day where there's not a day. So as far as like my criteria, I mean, you poked at Luka and Embiid a bit. I just still don't understand, like, if we're going to call Kyrie and Harden potential superstars, like where, like, I just still don't understand your criteria.
So, okay, with Kyrie, I honestly feel like it shouldn't even be a discussion at this point. Like the things that that have helped the Mavericks in this stretch.
So who's a better
obviously,
player, Jalen Brunson or Kyrie Irving right now?
Jalen Brunson or Kyrie? Give me Jalen Brunson. I'll take Jalen Brunson. I will
So
say.
how is Kyrie a
But
superstar?
here's why though. Here's why though. It's based off of the situation. Jalen Brunson is a number one option on the New York Knicks. Literally took that from Julius Randle. Kyrie Irving is a number two option that Luka literally went out there and I know he was BSing, but he said he's the Batman and I'm the Robin. Bro, you're gonna like when you look at Luka and Kyrie play, you can make an argument that's the best duo in the league right now. So with Jalen Brunson, he has more of a responsibility on the New York Knicks because Julius Randle either isn't there or shits the bed. But at the end of the day, it's two different situations. Like, you mean to tell me that if Kyrie was in New York, he wouldn't be going out there doing what Kyrie was doing in Brooklyn? Like, you don't think Kyrie would be helping this team? If you replace Jalen Brunson with Kyrie, send Jalen to the Mavs again, they'll be fine. You send Kyrie over to New York. You think that what's that not going to work for y'all? The defense,
I've seen Kyrie he led a team that I believe it was the year he got injured in the playoffs when he was doing real well with the Celtics the first year.
Yeah.
In terms of when he's been the Batman,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen him play at the level that Jalen Brunson's playing at right now. I don't think that's a crazy take.
I don't think it's a crazy take. I'm just saying, if you were to swap the two out, would it significantly be detrimental to the New York Knicks if Kyrie was there and Brunson? I don't think so. I genuinely don't. You surrounding Kyrie with that level of talent.
Are we assuming fully healthy, like he's healthy the whole time?
Yes, we're assuming a fully
I
healthy.
see his point on that.
Come on,
yeah, I see his point too. The fact that it's not a huge gap, but why are we going to sit here and say that if it's close and they do a similar thing, that one's a superstar, one is not? When one's once again, option, one's a first option.
When I get what you're saying. For me, when I look at Kyrie Irving and the things that he is like, it's all about if you're going to be a number two option, you can still fulfill your role really, really well and be looked at as a superstar. I.e., Dwayne Wade in the early Heat days with him and LeBron James. They both the reason why the Heat.
What's the difference between the Heat and the Mavs, though?
What do you mean?
The Heat were head and shoulders above everyone else in the NBA. That is not the Mavericks right now.
The Heat were not relative. I mean, the Heat were at the top of the conference. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, besides the year where they had won 27
the
straight,
Heatles
in 2011, who had the best record in the league? Derek Martell Rose and the Chicago Bulls. Stop playing with me. So look, and that's something that I use as ammunition anytime somebody tells me that LeBron should have won MVP over Rose. Hey, look, he had the best team. Don't get me wrong. One, not two, not three, not four, not five. Yeah, we get that. But Derek Rose with Carlos Boozer and Joakim Noah, 61 wins that he couldn't even get. Damn. All right, that's my MVP. But yeah, that's besides the point. Back to this though. I don't understand what you're saying between the difference of the teams, because when you look at this Mavericks team, the biggest the trade deadline pieces that they had made with Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington and those pieces have helped them go on these little runs that they've been on since the All-Star break, or at least since the trade deadline. So this Mavericks team that we're seeing right now is not the same team that we saw at the start of the season, which is where the majority of their problems were happening. Rebounding, defense, all of those things were the biggest issues with this Mavericks team. But then they go trade away and get some good pieces. Now everybody's, not to mention the fact that Kyrie is healthy. He was out for a little bit of that portion. That's why Luka's MVP case was so strong, because there was no Kyrie, right? But he comes back and now they're fully healthy, fully rolled, and look scary, right? Now, if you're going to sit here and text me in a group chat and say that the Mavericks look scary the other day, but then question the fact that I have Kyrie Irving as a superstar, how do Mavericks look scary with just Luka as the one superstar on the team? How is that the case? How are they scary with just one superstar?
I could say the Thunder are scary. I could say a bunch of good teams. I could say the Knicks are scary. I just still don't. And this is going to be something I think we just yap about the entire episode. I have a set criteria that you can see with plain eyesight that either someone is a superstar, someone is not. We can debate on my criteria. I cannot debate your criteria whatsoever.
Whose fault is that?
All right, listen. I'll tell you guys this.
I think your criteria sucks.
I think your criteria is boo-boo.
I'll tell you guys this. Okay? I like how respectful this was, even though you guys were respectfully jawing at each other. Both of you hated each other's arguments. I hated both of your arguments.
Damn.
I'm joking. Anyway, I think we're going to keep spinning in the same circle, if I'm being honest, because I think now twice we've tried to get on the same page in terms of what
No,
to argue about.
because he's saying it's like box office. Like, I'd rather go see Victor
If you're-
Wembanyama play than Jason
I
Tatum.
think
if
we do
we're
this.
Kingdon and a Bean, I'd see
And
Ja,
I'd rather
I'd see
have-
Kyrie,
Okay,
I'd
no,
see
don't
whoever.
you say John Morant. Okay, listen to me right
Yes!
now.
I would rather have Ja Morant
I
over
would
Jason
rather
Tatum.
have. I would rather have. I'll tell you this. That's cute. I'd rather have Jayson Tatum for my team in the postseason than Joel Embiid. Although one of them is a superstar and the other one is.
I'll
That's
say
crazy.
this. Both of you, I'll say this. Hoop started the episode very strong, and I thought Z's about to get destroyed because Hoop went on like a 10-minute
He did.
startup. And Z came back. You guys both had really good points. I think Z's strongest point was the whole Joel Embiid spill. How his postseason record wasn't great.
Okay.
And you classified him as a superstar.
We have one. I mean, I said he had 4 MVP.
Right.
He that's one player knocked out. Someone's not a superstar. There's still 7, 8 ahead of him.
Yeah, right.
So-
Right. Here's what I'll say this about Z's point and why I'm not agreeing with anybody yet. I'm just gonna say this. I agreed with the Joel Embiid point because also you got to look at the situations they're in. Jayson Tatum, in terms of regular season play, he has a better team around them. He's going to look worse than Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is known to carry the torch for the 76ers. The ball is in his hand 24/7. While that is like a superstar task, and it's like, oh, Joel Embiid, superstar because he could carry a team to the playoffs. Jayson Tatum takes his team farther in the playoffs. You can make that argument, whatever it may be. So Z came back there with a strong counter argument.
Tatum's not averaging 35 a night. 35 a night.
Hoop and
Then neither is Joel in the playoffs. Sorry.
He's hurt.
Oh, of course.
Availability is
best availability
is availability. That's a fact.
I will concede that.
Why do you think we haven't considered Kawhi a superstar for the last 3 seasons?
I do.
You started to in the 2023 playoffs, but before that, bro, you can't, right?
Yeah,
because
2 games.
I always did.
Okay,
before the episode was before the 2023 playoffs, and I said. I said until Kawhi Leonard is not Kawhi Leonard when he's healthy, because with the Anthony Davis point, he has been injured, but when he's played, you don't know if you're getting Anthony Davis. That's why he lost his superstar for me. When Kawhi Leonard has been healthy, he has been Kawhi Leonard. That has not changed. I proved it in 2023 playoffs for 2 basketball games, averaged 35 a night.
I respect it. I respect it. I think Kawhi, when he plays, is a superstar too. But availability is the availability is the best ability. Also, Kawhi shows up in the playoffs. We can agree with that.
A good thing we're not talking about Kawhi. We're talking about Tatum.
Wait. Breaking news.
What?
Bronny James will enter the transfer portal. Where's he going?
Why?
I don't know.
He didn't even give USC a chance. USC, yeah.
People are saying Oregon or Ohio State.
He's going to go to Ohio State. Anyway, I'll say this. I think we should end the episode and leave it up to the viewers, and I'll put up a poll. We'll check in the comments.
How long have we been going for?
50 minutes.
47 minutes. Oh.
Hey, can we have a conclusion?
We can do a conclusion. No, I'm not saying we're ending the episode right here. I'm just saying we should look to wrap it up because you guys cannot get on the same page in terms of
but
you both made great points. I do want to say, Z, you caught me off guard by having to come back on Hoop because Hoop came in strong.
He did.
Okay. I'll go first this time if you'd like.
Yeah.
I'll just give my spill of why I think I won, and then you can give your spill. So I'll say that going into this episode, we were supposed to debate whether or not Jayson Tatum was a superstar. Z came out, did not really give his criteria, explained why Jayson Tatum was a great basketball player and all these different situational things and the winning and the things that he's done, which is great. No lie. But now, as far as him being a superstar goes, I gave my criteria as to why I think, based off my criteria of Jayson Tatum not being a consistent top 5 player year in, year out compared to the Jokic's, the Lukas, the Giannis's, the Stephs, the KD's, in my opinion, Kawhi. Just he has not reached that level yet. And throughout these playoffs, the 2023 playoffs, that needle has not moved for me. And the fact that he struggles in crunch time and just the eye test things that I see of him not demanding the ball like other superstars, I don't fear him. There's other players on his level that I think you just can't say he's above, like the Jalen Brunsons of the world, like I think he's closer to an Anthony Edwards than he is to a Jokic. I don't see him going head to head in a playoff series against any of those big dogs. Just from a player on player perspective. Yes, his team is great. Yes, he's had a lot of success. The age thing is very nice, but overall, based off my criteria, I just felt like he's not a superstar. With Z's criteria, I felt like it was rather sloppy. Respect to Z, but I just didn't know how to debate because of just I didn't know what his criteria was. So because of that, I feel like I won the debate, and I'll let Z say his whatever he wants to say.
So, Hoop's last point was great. This is why I feel like I won the debate. Well, let me tell you why ZZ Huncho won it. All right, because going into it, you may say, "Oh, my criteria was sloppy." No, my criteria is pretty straightforward. I talked about how the league itself is at the most talent that it has ever seen all at once. And when you factor that in with a player like Jayson Tatum and the resume that he's put up at the age of only 26, which, like I said before, some of your favorite players didn't win a championship at that age, but yet we're still labeled superstars. And I understand your point about Jayson Tatum and the whole you don't know what you're really going to get with them. But your point of not really knowing when it's Tatum time, when he showcased more than twice last year in the postseason when it was Tatum time, I think that's a little, sloppy in and of itself. If a player like James Harden, who was labeled as a superstar in the years of 2016 and 2017, while giving you the worst playoff performances that you could ever see, and you still labeled him a superstar going into the 2018 and 19 seasons, and so on and so forth, then a player like Jayson Tatum, playing on the best team in the league, being the best player on that team, if this was the NFL, he'd have the franchise tag, for crying out loud. A player of his caliber who is about to be all NBA first team for the third straight year in a row. And to Hoop's credit for his criteria, he's looking at it and saying, okay, if you are a perennial top 5 player in the league for multiple seasons, Jayson Tatum has been that for 3 straight seasons. And it will continue to do so, I believe, until for the rest of his prime as he enters it slowly but surely. On top of the fact that I already mentioned, all of the success that he's had in comparison to other guys that Hoop has as a superstar based off of regular season accomplishments, which is crazy, but it is what it is. Your criteria made sense to me. Literally, I'm not even going to lie to you. It did make sense to me up until Joel Embiid. That was where I was like, wait a second. Now I'm about to cook. So it's up to the fans now. If I win, great. If I don't win, that's not great. I won. There we go. YAM time, baby.
Well, this was a great first Yap battle. YAM time history right here. I liked both your points. I'll be honest. If I was to choose a winner, I'm being completely honest here. I'm gonna lean to Hoop side because Hoop was more strict to his criteria. There were points where Z bounced around a little bit, and I think brought up third-party situations that I don't think directly correlates to superstardom. For example, the Brunson Kyrie talk. But Z had a very good counter argument to a lot of the points Hoop said. And it's up in the air. I think it's a very opinionated subject. The reason I give the edge to Hoop, is
You didn't need to say that, bro.
He did need to say that. He did need to say
You just brought that up unnecessarily.
Did I need to say that, Z? Z's the pause.
He did need to say it. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't have even said
All
pause.
right. Apologies.
The pause police.
Anyway, I'll say this. I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh, Hoop stuck to his. I feel like Hoop stuck to his points a lot more, and he really stayed 10 toes on it. But again, it's up in the air. We're gonna leave it to the poll. I'll set up a poll for this episode. Also, comment if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening on Apple Music, go to YouTube and drop a comment because I don't know how to do the Apple Music stuff. I'll be honest. And we appreciate you guys for tuning in. This has been a great episode. Both of you guys have been super respectful to each other, which I enjoyed.
Hoop, you suck. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you.
Bro,
Hoop.
I could have easily debated you for another 3 hours. That felt like nothing.
You think that for a fact that in debating anybody that you've ever come in contact with, I will go as long as we need to until I get.
You guys are lucky it wasn't me because
we're gonna go off air for a little bit.
I would have started swinging. I would have started swinging on the camera. But we'll see you guys in episode 7. Peace.